Welcome to Behind the Brand. This series is for you if you're interested in taking a deeper look at the appliance brands you're considering and appliances in general. So we asked industry leaders about their latest advancement and what's next for your kitchen. You also find out firsthand about the current supply chain problems and a realistic timeline to ordering appliances. What's really fascinating is the origin story behind some of these brands. They're remarkable tales about entrepreneurs who built freezers out of scrap or created cooking products when people were used to cooking over an open flame. So what you're about to watch will show you how to make educated appliance buying decisions, and as a bonus, a glimpse of the technological advancements that are on the horizon, as well as how to plan ahead for your next project. True is one of the most popular brands in terms of commercial refrigeration. If you ever bought a drink or frozen dinner out of a Whole Foods, Wegmans, or even 7-Eleven, then you probably grabbed it from a True refrigerator or freezer. However, True has some excellent residential products as well, including professional refrigeration, wine storage, and beverage centers, to name a few. And they all come in custom colors and trims. In today's episode, we speak to Steve Trulaske, the CEO and owner of True. Steve's grandfather started True back in the 1940s, and the original idea was drawn in a local pub. You'll hear more about this during our interview, so let's jump in. Steve Trulaske is the owner of True Manufacturing, an industry leader in commercial and residential refrigeration products. Thank you for being here today, Steve.
Good to be with you, Steve.
If you've ever been to Whole Foods, Wegmans, or your local convenience store, you pulled a drink from a True refrigerator. True introduced some exceptional residential refrigerators in 2016. We'll talk about that and other interesting aspects of True refrigeration. Interesting fact about Steve, he serves on the board of the University of Missouri, yet graduated from DePauw, both Tigers, ranked #1 liberal arts in Indiana. Like me, he is an avid hockey fan. Unlike anyone else in the series, I've never actually talked to Steve, so this should be pretty interesting. First question, start with the soft one. Did you enjoy the lobster and clam chowder I sent to you after you beat us?
Yes.
In Game 7.
Yes. It was an impressive gift given the horrendous loss the Bruins took that 2019. So very much appreciated. Thank you, Steve.
Well, you know something? You're a better sport than me because I'd probably, if I were you, I'd probably be doing this interview with a St. Louis Blues shirt on. But thank you. Thank you for that. Seriously, I find your company fascinating. It's a great American story, especially the origin. Do you want to? I think it'd be interesting, kind of fun to understand the origin of True, if you could.
Sure. So my grandfather was a tool and die maker, educated, 8th grade education, and that's what, back in the early 1900s and teens and stuff they did. And so he worked for a variety of companies in St. Louis, a lot of them being Emerson Electric divisions today, like fan manufacturing and oven manufacturing, things of that nature. So he was also a guy that wanted to start his own business. He supposedly started many of them. They all did not do well. But he had this idea as refrigeration was starting to come into the home to think about it from a commercial application. So he was in a bar, but there really wasn't such a thing as a commercial freezer back, let's say, in the early 1940s. So that was his vision, is to really try to develop something pretty difficult to do. So my father comes home from World War II. He has saved up $10,000 from flight pay, from gambling, arbitrage of exchanging pounds for francs, etc., as he was in the Air Force. And he lent $3,500 to my grandfather for this idea. They started making these cases, these freezer cases in the backyard, in the garage, and in St. Louis. And they built 12 of them. And after out of the first 3 months or so, they sold one. So they were ready to close the whole thing down. And then Harry Truman had to declare meat rationing. And so all of a sudden they sold every freezer. And that was the initial thing that got the business going. But it was not the sustaining thing for the early going. They eventually connected with 7-Up Company here in St. Louis. They started making these horizontal bottle coolers out of the bar world. And that was really what got the business going in the 40s, 50s, 60s as they developed relationships with 7-Up, Pepsi-Cola, Coca-Cola. And that's kind of the origin.
That's awesome. From a bar, yeah.
From a bar.
It is your family. It's a third generation business. It's your dad, your older brother worked in it, and now you. Did you have any other aspirations?
Yes. So, World War II vets are pretty tough on their sons. And so growing up, I was in the factory, factory work, and it's incentivized you to not want to work in the factory. And I was really into sports and played football to paw. Wanted to continue my career in football. So I went to Ohio State sports administration program and wanted to become someone who was like in the front office of a professional football team. I did that for one season with the St. Louis Football Cardinals, and that cured me of that specific aspiration. I went back to Ohio State for an MBA, and I really fell in love with business at the Ohio State University Business School. And so with that event, I was really open to coming back to work for True in 1982, and that's where I've been since then.
It's interesting. You guys operate 4.2 million square feet of factory space. It's all U.S. based, by the way, for anyone listening. I just want to have an interesting question, just for context. How long would it take to walk your main 1,000,000 square foot factory? Like if we were to start to the beginning, how long would it take you to walk that?
The single largest facility is, I believe, about 600,000 square feet. So we're like a campus of many buildings of 400,000, 200,000 that all add up to 400,000, or so 4 million. So individually walking the biggest one probably would take 10 minutes or something like that. So we don't have one big 4 million square foot facility. That would be obviously quite a facility. So it's more of a spread out 4 campuses and individual buildings. My father was about expanding with equity. He never borrowed money. So it was very much this progressive, small at a time growth strategy.
Awesome. How many different products do you manufacture? I mean, I counted 93 glass display units. It's staggering. How many different types and how many different products do you actually, how many different SKUs do you have?
The way we look at it is really, would you say this is an individual SKU? This is not an extension of an SKU. It's its own model, so to speak. There's approximately 1,000 plus models now that we are in an individual SKU. And off those 1,000 models, of course, there's the infinite variation that occurs throughout the commercial line. So within our computer systems today, I believe we can schedule about 15,000 different refrigerators. It gets added to every day because things get improved or a new color comes on or whatever it is. And so it really is the key to our success, is being this one-stop shop, particularly in the commercial world, is that you don't have to source other manufacturers to do a complete commercial kitchen.
Have to ask, seeing that you've made up thousands of SKUs, and notice on your top 10s page of why you do businesses, you've listed extensive inventory. With so many products in a supply chain that is broken everywhere, how do you keep them available?
So inventory is the historical strategy, and it would be the historical strategy today if we could keep up with it. But obviously in this world we are today, we go from really, remember in April of 20, the whole business just collapsed. So all the restaurants were closed, and they went out of business, many of them, and our business goes down to like 40% of normal, right? So you can't look at the sales sheet, you can't believe what's going on. Mm-hmm. So then, 1 year later, it starts going 60% above normal. So obviously, our inventory positions across the board have been blown out, and we're in this unique era of back order. We had a similar era in the 1990s. We've lived through this before. This one's different than the 1990s because the supply chain is a part of the reason why we can't dig out, so to speak.
When do you anticipate things going back to normal? I mean, just from your standpoint. I mean, back to like 2018, 2019 levels when everything was quote unquote normal.
So we are making a lot of plans to improve our overall capacity and production capabilities. For us internally, those will really come on in 2023. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we see really no big changes occurring significantly in 22. We will build a lot more refrigerators in 22 than we built in 21, but it's not going to be enough to really address the backward. So 23, I think, is the beginning of the head back to normal. And you read about ocean freight capacity, about ship capacity. You all read about 2023. But I really think it's 2024 before you really feel like you potentially are back in that pre-COVID era.
No, I would agree. That's what everyone's saying in this series. Sustainability is a pillar of yours. And I've noticed your laudable recycling event efforts on your website. You developed a new type of environmentally friendly refrigerant called the R290. What steps were involved in manufacturing something so new? What would you do? How did you go about doing that?
So so remember, we are an international company. We do a lot of work in Europe, and the Europeans have always led the charge on environmentalism, and so Brussels has set a lot of policies. So going back into the 1990s, they began this transition to hydrocarbon refrigerants, which R290 is the commercial version. In the residential world, it's R600. Basically, propane is what we know it as on commercial side, isobutane on residential side. So doing all this work with the Coca-Cola company, who has a high sustainability environmental consciousness, they wanted to move to environmentally friendly refrigeration. So we saw this opportunity with propane R290, and we had then to come back to the United States and petition the EPA for the use of R290. Because you could not build a refrigerator in the U.S. with it. We joined other partners like Ben & Jerry's ice cream, for example, for a reason they're an environmentally friendly ice cream company, and we won this ability to build R290 refrigerators in the U.S. in 2011. So that's how we really got going.
Wow. Let's talk about residential products. Okay, you are incredibly successful commercially, really successful. Why would you design a product for a completely different market, like for home use, say?
So, going back about almost 20 years ago, we saw the first real love affair begin in the residential world with the stainless steel look. And these, as we know, were skinned residential models with stainless steel. In the front of them was just a look, design, fascia exercise for them to do that. But then we saw that stainless steel was coming into some residential models on the inside. So it truly was like a commercial unit, complete head to toe. So we said to ourselves, well, this is our bailiwick. This is what we do all day long, is build stainless steel inside and out refrigerators. So let's get into this residential world. So what we didn't realize was how difficult the residential refrigeration system is from the standpoint of energy efficiency and from quietness. So we really had to learn a whole new language. And it's taken us, as they say, overnight success comes in 15 years. And that's about what it took us to finally figure this thing out a little bit. And I'll tell you today, I think we friggin' know residential refrigeration so well. We have got it locked and loaded. And what's coming as we speak as we migrate to R600 to isobutane refrigerators for the residential world, they are going to pass commercial standards. So you're not just getting a pretty face, you're going to get the real deal. Commercial performance. That means energy efficiency, pull down, put it outside and let it work in 100 degrees. They're going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, it's funny. Even California likes you guys, and that's almost impossible. It's really interesting that you're standing in front of a saffron colored, what is that? A beverage center, right?
Yes.
Oh. How does a company manufacturing only stainless go into the color, and why those colors? And you've got some great names: ultra matte black, saffron, and juniper. And how's it going with colors like that?
So to be very honest, we really kind of tripped into this color opportunity in the residential world. And the original reason we are into colors is because we decided to invest in a $12 million powder coat line about 7 or 8 years ago. And that was really just a cost and quality investment to have our commercial products powder coated ends versus a laminated end. But what we discovered is that we could do colors, and then we got inspired dropping into the residential shows that this could be our point of difference. And powder coat is not a tremendously expensive thing to do. You can add the color without a huge premium. And so what we discovered is that people love this. I mean, this is something different. They really enjoy it.
For anyone unfamiliar with True, go to their website and play around. They have 10 colors in those 6 accents. I spent time waiting for you, like going from matte black with pewter hinges to copper hinges to brass, just to see what it looks like. It's a lot of fun if you're designing your own in your own kitchen. And we have white and brass in our showroom, in next to a white and brass La Cornue. And La Cornue does colors, I think, better than anybody. And I think yours,
oh yeah. No
yours stands up really nicely. So if you're in residential, why no ice makers or dispensers in your refrigerators?
Well, I got good news for you on that, Steve. 2022 will see the incorporation of ice machines built into our upright unit. So it is. We've heard the message. We tried to stay true to our commercial heritage, which we try to do as much as possible. What we've learned with residential is you do have to adapt, like anything, of course. And so, yes, we're going to get the ice machine as a part of our offering on the upright units.
I heard you guys didn't do it because of repair, and you're spot on with that. Ice maker is the number one repair that we deal with daily. So
that's why it's taken us so long, because we felt very uncomfortable with what we found out in the marketplace, and we have found a supplier now that we feel good with.
Well, if you can get the supplier to make self-cleaning ice makers, you'd be onto something. Because that's the problem, right? In 2020, you added beverage columns, the saffron-colored beverage column you're sitting in front of, wine columns, all refrigerators, all freezers. What's next for you in residential refrigeration?
Well, coming out of KBIS is the 36-inch bottom-mount refrigerator freezer, and we think this is what we understand in the residential world. This will be extraordinarily the kind of highest volume potential refrigerator freezer that we will manufacture. So we've come out with all these other versions, different sizes. We've not had this combo unit so far, and we'll have the ice machine in it. So that's really our big news that's coming here in about 2 months, and so we're very excited about that. But behind the scenes, there's enhancements, improvements, and changes coming to all the existing refrigerators and under counters. And just like our commercial side, what dimensionally, where do we need to go next in the world of residential? The market will tell us.
Well, 36 it's 36 in the larger sizes, 42 and 48. I think you're onto something. But let me ask a question. Have you ever thought of downscaling a little bit? Now, if True refrigerator is $15,000 to $22,000 regularly, to a more simple, kind of commercial looking, all stainless, say 36-inch French door, something that's, say, below $10,000, something that's, I wouldn't say commodity, but not high luxury either.
Yeah, we've had discussions about that overall broad strategy, not maybe specific to what you suggested, but yeah, we do sit back and look at that as a possibility in the future. I think it's definitely within our capability, and that I'll be surprised if someday we don't get to that effort.
I wouldn't be surprised either. You guys have done a great job in such a short period of time. So let me ask a question. Would you ever plan on adding another category like Sub-Zero did with Wolf 20 years ago and what Viking did with refrigeration, although that might not be just the best analogy given that, to be more of a full solution for a residential owner, say?
Well, I think if you just look at our commercial history and you look at that, we advertise ourselves as a one-stop shop in the commercial kitchen world. So it took us about 30 years to get there to eventually have virtually everything that goes into a commercial kitchen. Maybe it was like 25 years, but so that's the way we think. And yes, we'll be open to being that full service residential kitchen solution someday too.
Last question. You're third generation now. Do you anticipate, and it's a wonderfully successful American-owned company. Do you anticipate True staying family-owned? Is there a next generation, and what would that look like?
Yes, so there is a next generation. My daughter currently is working in True Residential Division as we speak. She's 25 years old and living in New York, and she's really making some nice contributions and learning the business. I have a son in graduate business school at DePaul University in Chicago, and he will join us in 2023. But just philosophically speaking, to answer your question, having spent a lot of time in Europe and studying in Germany and studying German companies, the German company does not sell itself. Miele, for example, is on its 7th generation. And I have the exact same philosophy. I don't see selling True. I do everything in my power every day to ensure this company can be transferred on from each generation, and that there's no reason why the company has to be sold. So that is the goal I have for not just for the Trulaske family, but really for the employees that are here, because people really like to work for privately held companies, as you probably know yourselves.
Mm-hmm. Good answer. So thanks again for joining us, and really thank you for your time. Really appreciate
Thank you, Steve.
it. Great conversation.
Yeah, and thank you to Yale. And we really appreciate how you differentiate yourself as a dealer and the different things you do. You're very unusual, and it works. And we really are very glad to be a part of your support as a supplier.
Well, thank you.
Right.
Now that you've heard from Steve and learned about the future True, let's stop over at one of our showrooms to see these products in action. We asked one of our salespeople to give us a tour with a more in-depth explanation of the refrigerators mentioned in this video.
True is an American appliance company that really started as a commercial style company. If you go into supermarkets, restaurants, and things like that, you'll see lots of True coolers that really allow for storage of restaurant food or drinks, things like that. Over the past few years, True has really stepped into the residential area, starting with under-counter units such as ice machines, ice makers, under-counter beverage centers, wine centers, kegerators, and things like that. Then they've produced additional full-size refrigeration, and over the past couple years, you'll see they've gotten into more columns where you'll have wine columns, beverage refrigerators, actual refrigerators, and things like that. And in addition, they've really kind of stepped up into more custom colors where you can do anything, and really as you design, from being able to customize anything from the color of the units to the hinging of the units. Again, in keeping with their commercial heritage, they offer a full 3-year parts and labor warranty on all their products, which is really unique in the industry and one of the best warranties you'll find in the industry. And in addition, kind of keeping in with their commercial styling, you'll see all of their refrigerators, including under-counter units, are fully stainless steel on the interior as well. And you'll notice that the under-counter units are also indoor and outdoor rating. Again, really keeping with that commercial heritage, but really giving you some beauty to see on the inside of the home with their residential products.
That's it for today's episode. Next week, we'll be interviewing Chris Kaiser, Vice President of Sales for Bosch, Thermador, and Gaggenau. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, if you like what you learned, don't forget to hit the subscribe for more information about appliances, home renovation tips and trends. See you next time.